Okay, there it goes. We're gonna get there. Zero to 60 in 11.4 seconds. This is one of the slowest cars I've tested in a very, very long time. My 2012 Prius would dust this thing while getting 50 miles per gallon still. But my Prius doesn't offer all-wheel drive nor modern safety features or modern technology. But even though full pedal on throttle is extremely disappointing here, in daily traffic and just normal driving, I've actually been very happy with the amount of acceleration this gives you. It's very peppy and really does well, probably like 0 to 30 miles an hour. And from a stop, it's very responsive unless you try to torque brake it and do what I did there and try to get the most out of it. It just kind of trips and stumbles out of the starting blocks. But in normal traffic, that has been the case. It's been very acceptable and if not enjoyable to drive. I'm just going to do pedal down here. Okay. You know, it does do a little downshift feature with the CVT, but still it doesn't go anywhere quick. The 2.5 liter I tested on the Impreza a couple of weeks back, that did 0 to 60 in about 8 seconds. I'm like, you know, that vehicle's not even quick. Don't worry about getting the 2.5. But with how slow this was, I didn't realize it would be an 11+ second 0 to 60 car. It's not a bad idea to just go straight from this premium model to the sport or to the limited. I think you're going to probably appreciate the additional acceleration, especially just when it comes to a safety standpoint. If you're driving a lot on highways, you're absolutely going to need that extra horsepower from time to time. Subaru's made this about 10% stiffer compared to the last model. They've also improved the power steering in here taken from the WRX, and I've been happy with the steering feel in here overall. There's a good amount of feedback. It's pretty nimble. This car only weighs about 3,300 pounds. It doesn't weigh a whole lot, even with all-wheel drive. Not quite as fun to throw around as the Impreza had a couple weeks back. Let's talk about the exterior design here on the Crosstrek. It still looks like a Crosstrek. It hasn't changed a whole lot. You still have lobster claws in the back. You have the new gills behind the front tire, which is reminiscent of the new WRX, for example. The front end with the frameless grille looks pretty good. There's a ton of black plastic around the fog light area, and that's why I'm gonna totally tell you guys to skip the base model, because there's no fog light in the base model. You just have a rounded black piece of plastic there. So get this premium model at the very least, and get it with the blind spot monitor package while you're at it. In the back of the Crosstrek, we have this nice all-weather mat here with kind of the, you know, nature around it. And then underneath, do we have a spare tire? Absolutely. Well done, Subaru. This is a full diameter but not full width spare tire, so you're not going to be running around on a donut per se. Looks like you have a small cup holder back here. Maybe that's for your dog dish on each side. There's no accessory power back here, but at least we have this little switch. But it would have been nice to have a 12 volt for maybe tailgating or just additional power accessories. Folding down these seats, you pull up this little notch on each side. Seats fold pretty much completely flat. There might be a small rise here, and the mat kind of accommodates for that. But 20 cubic feet of space here. I think when the seats are all folded down, it's around 54 cubic feet of space. Do not have an automatic lift gate here. Fold up these rear seats. They do feel pretty solid. I like this material overall, this cloth material. The limited trim will give you leather, but soft touch materials nowhere to be found until you get down here, and you can just see how this deforms when I press on it. It's very, very hollow, very, very bargain basement feeling for sure. But at least we have some stitching, some soft touch here. Do we have we don't have one touch power up and down. Getting into the back here, at least we have a synthetic leather on the back of the seat, which is nice and comfortable for the passenger, but I do not have mat pockets on each side, just on this side. Luckily, I do have a USB-C and a USB-A back here, but no vents. But it is a pretty small vehicle, and this car does cool down pretty well, so that's not too big of an issue. Little map light overhead. And speaking of overhead, how is my headroom? Well, at 6'1", I actually have an inch of headroom back here, and my legroom is quite good overall. So I'd be happy back here actually for a nice long trip. Does this fold down for cup holders? Absolutely. That's great to see. A lot of its competitors in the segment are kind of foregoing this. And child seat latches, they are pretty easy to get to, but It's not the most refined setup back here, but at least they're Velcroed down and you can kind of tuck them out of the way with enough force. Now luckily on the front, we have a nice cloth material here instead of a hard touch plastic. We have this like faux carbon fiber here we've seen in other Subarus in the past. So the quality materials up here are much nicer overall compared to the back. Same high quality cloth seats, kind of with this two-tone with the neon and gray stitching. Let's go and close the door, get on the inside. Door sound is very acceptable, I would say, for a vehicle around $30,000. We have the large 11-inch touchscreen in here. That's going to be the most eye-catching thing in here. I have it plugged in with the USB-A, and you also have a USB-C down here for additional charging. You can get a wireless charger under here, but I like having the space that this provides. So many cars have a small area to set your phone, or you have to set it in the cup holder. Not here in the Crosstrek. You can put pretty much any phone size in this area, which I really adore. Climate control is always up here at the bottom. Your Apple CarPlay, Android Auto is going to take up the middle portion of the screen. It's mostly responsive, but there are times where this 11-inch screen lags. You can put your radio up here at the top, or weather or whatnot. Volume knob and tuning knob, appreciate that simplicity here, but maybe a little bit too simplistic, I would say, for some people. I still would prefer to have physical dials here for climate control, but since it's always up here at the bottom, it doesn't really bother me that much. It's easy to play around with. On the steering wheel, we have the EyeSight technology. We'll play with that in a little bit when we get on the road. We also have paddle shifters here to row through simulated gears with this CVT. I love the classical stance here. Tachometer on the left, speedometer on the right, analog gauges, and then we have a small 4-inch screen here in the middle to give you different metrics. So I just keep it on miles per gallon, for example. Hard touch across until you get to this piece, which is soft touch, and then it goes back to hard touch here, and then it goes back to hard touch all the way down. Very plain plastic area where the shifter is, but at least we have a traditional shifter here, and it's real easy to slide down into drive. I love traditional shifters. I'm glad they didn't do like a push button sort of setup here. You also have electronic parking brake, but I don't see an auto brake hold. You're gonna have to press this button, and you're gonna have to do auto vehicle hold through the menu here. But as I found out in the Impreza last week, if I turn the car off, turn it back on, it doesn't keep my setting here for auto brake hold, which is very annoying. Nor will it keep your auto start stop settings when you restart the car. We have adaptive headlights though, which is pretty cool. The cup holders seem to be pretty breathable with this rubber piece at the bottom. 12-volt accessory power here, lifting up the armrest. There's no felt lined interior in there, so things are going to be rattling around. You're going to have to put in your own bag or line it with your own felt if you want that to be sound deadened. This is soft touch here, and I do like where it's at, and it's set up perfectly where my elbow is to the shifter. That's not something I can say all the time, even with the more sport-oriented BRZ, for example. We do have the sunroof equipped on this model. It's an option which gives us blind spot monitor on each side mirror as well. Underneath the hood, we have a 2-liter Boxer 4-cylinder engine with a little over 150 horsepower and a little over 145 pound-feet of torque. All-wheel drive is standard, of course, being a Subaru, and we do get around 30 miles per gallon, but I'll put that to the test today. This road is notoriously loud and bumpy, and this Subaru is doing an amazing job handling it. Very happy overall. Let's throw it in the turn. You know, it doesn't accelerate out of it, so might as well just get off the pedal and focus on MPGs. But it does feel good in the turns, like I mentioned earlier. It feels planted, and the ride quality in here is probably class leading. I'll say that. It feels better than a Corolla Cross. The brake feel in here, I really like. That's something I remember driving the first generation Crosstrek when I was still selling cars, not for Subaru, but it was on our lot, and I tested over, and the brake pedal felt terrible to me. I'm really happy with the progression here on the newer Subarus, the new Crosstrek. I'm very comfortable bringing this car to a very smooth and predictable stop, so well done there, Subaru. Here at an idle with the stop start canceled, essentially because I have the AC going, you do feel it rumbling. I feel under the seat as well. I feel it through my feet rumbling just a little bit. All right, we're gonna pull in front of this RX here, pedal down. All right, already getting off the pedal because I'm not going anywhere. So I'm just, again, I want so much more out of the acceleration. I'm just not getting it. So we're just gonna cruise here. Actually, what we're gonna do is play with the EyeSight technology. We're gonna go ahead and set it to about 50 miles an hour here. It has the steering active on here as well. I mean, obviously it's a straight line with pretty clear dotted lines as well as white lines here. It's not asking me to put my hand on the steering wheel yet. Well, it lost the line there and started going off-road. So it really needs to have the lines in sight for the EyeSight to work. Let's see what happens when we come up on this Cadillac here. Oh, it slows down very aggressively. Really surprised. It could have easily smoothed that out, but it hit the brakes pretty hard there. But it got up to speed pretty nicely, no problem, and is matching the speed with the Cadillac in front of me. Blind spot monitor comes on very early, almost aggressively early, and it's not on the edge of the mirror, it's right on the inside of the mirror on I guess the mirror capsule. I prefer it to be on the edge of the mirror, but I'm happy that it's very visible. I like it being on the edge of the mirror because people who are driving next to you can see it easier, so they know that you can see they're in your blind spot. But yeah, this is better than nothing. It's much better than, I think it's the Nissans that have it inside the car on the A-pillar, which other cars cannot see at all. I wish Subaru would have put the 2.5 liter in here standard for the base and this premium grade. I think that would have helped a lot. It's hard for me to recommend it after seeing how and experiencing just how gutless it really is. Going the 2.5 is the absolute no-brainer if you're interested in a Crosstrek. But where Subaru could also benefit is having a hybrid version of this car. 30, you know, mid to upper 30s at steady state is what I'm seeing, but when you're in town it really drops off heavily. That's what I also saw with the Impreza. But having a hybrid, man, you know, the AC wouldn't take as big toll into your miles per gallon. You'd be able to get 40 miles per gallon, no problem. You'd still be able to get all-wheel drive, not quite as good as the Symmetrical all-wheel drive. Well, it just depends on how they would hybridize it. But they used to have a Crosstrek plug-in hybrid, but they canceled it. So it is what it is. Oh, one last thing I wanted to do is play with the fake gears here. I mean, essentially the engine picks an RPM like a gear, makes a lot of noise, and you press the pedal down and nothing happens even if you're near red line. So I had EyeSight on here and it pretty smoothly brought this car to a stop there, better than it did earlier when the Cadillac pulled out in front of me. And is it going to speed us up very well? Yeah, it's not as smooth when it comes to getting back up to speed with traffic, but it doesn't. I don't have to think about it. I still think the car in this segment to beat is the Corolla Cross Hybrid. You can get it for the same price as this. It's way faster. It's 200 horsepower, 0 to 60 in around 7 seconds, and it gets you 40 plus miles per gallon. Maybe the screen is a pull here, and maybe the Symmetrical all-wheel drive is superior for doing off-roading a lot, but I just don't see this as a heads and tails better option over something like the hybrid Corolla. I also drove a Volkswagen Taos a couple of weeks ago. The acceleration was far better on that. You know, the turbo lag was pretty ridiculous, and the predictability is better on this car. But I would much rather have probably that turbo 4-cylinder than this Subaru anemic 2-liter boxer. That Taos though was ridiculously expensive for what it offered, so it's hard to recommend that vehicle as well. And last week when I was driving the 2.5 RS Impreza, I thought you should just save your money or spend about the same amount of money depending on the deal you can get and get the WRX sedan. It's a much better vehicle overall, and I'm going to say the same thing for the Crosstrek here, ladies and gentlemen. Spend either the same or just a little bit more money and get the outstanding Forester. Make sure to watch my Forester review. It comes with the 2.5 engine, but guess what? This premium model also can be had with blind spot monitor for $1,100, but also gives you a power rear gate, which my Crosstrek obviously didn't come with that. But guess what else it comes with in this premium model? You have a nice gray interior. You also have this oversized panoramic power moonroof, which is pretty cool as well. Get the bigger, better, faster, and still fuel efficient Forester for about the same price as the Crosstrek. That is my absolute recommendation if you need to have a Subaru around $30,000 and you need the utility instead of the performance of a WRX, for example. But I got it there. If you enjoyed today's review of the Crosstrek, smash the like button. Make sure you subscribe for more Subaru news and reviews and other car news and reviews for that matter. Thank you. Appreciate you. Have a great day and peace.